Hi everyone, it's time for your Week 7 wake-up call for English 101. So what's happening this week? Okay, you have a couple of things that you need to do this week. The first one, obviously, is Wednesday. You're handing in the final draft of your summary and synthesis paper. Okay, and then once that's turned in, then you'll begin to start working on Project 3. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so here's your first order of business. This is the top part of the module for Week 7. You need to finish your draft of the analysis and synthesis paper. So you have gotten some good peer review feedback, hopefully. And I will be reading your papers tomorrow, that's Monday, and so you'll be getting feedback from me as well. So take all of that feedback, take everything that you've sort of gathered as part of your readings, and then craft your final draft of that paper. Be sure to include the reflective cover letter, and remember both of these here are links that will take you to the submission pages, the instructions, and the button that helps you submit those. So please read the instructions one more time very carefully before you turn in your final draft. Make sure that you've covered every single aspect of this assignment correctly. Do not submit your final draft until you've received and read the feedback from me, which will be available by Monday afternoon. Okay? Let's talk about how to format or organize your paper. This is a screenshot out of the instructions for this assignment, so you can go back and read this yourself. But I just wanted to sort of elaborate on this. This paper needs to begin with an introduction. It doesn't have to have headings that say introduction and so on. In the introduction, you need to explain to the reader, you need to set the context for this paper. So what is it that you have been tasked with? What have you been doing in this paper? You can also include very brief introductions to each of the sources and then wrap that introduction up with a thesis. Now the thesis is that thread that has been winding through all of these sources. What is the main idea that you've been focusing on? For some of you, it's been the mental health aspects of student loan debt. Some people have been focusing on the larger economic consequences to an entire society if so many people are carrying this amount of debt. Some people have been focusing more narrowly on the economic or financial repercussions for an individual or a family that is trying to shoulder this amount of debt. So that is your thesis, right? All right, so after Wednesday, you've gotten that all turned in. Now you can dust your hands of that assignment for a while and now turn your attention to Project 3. Project 3 brings together all of the skills, all of the techniques, all of the information that we have been working on so far this semester. So please read the overview for Unit 3. Lesson 3.1, Topic Refinement. That's going to be the very first step in this project. Please read the prompt for the annotated bibliography. You're not doing that this week. That's going to be your main task next week, but you need to read ahead so that you understand what you're going to be doing. And then the prompt for the actual assignment. So your assignment is called the research project. Please read that entire assignment sheet very carefully. If you have any questions, post them under the Ask the Instructor discussion thread. MLA overview, that's the Modern Language Association. That is the style guide that we are using for this particular paper. And I'll talk more about MLA in a subsequent wake-up call. Please read or access the tutorial there called Library Research Tutorial Number 1, which gives you information on how to kick off this research process. And then the assignment that's due today, or at the end of the week, is called the Topic Refinement. So there's more information about it, and that would include the link there at the bottom that you could use to turn that in. Okay, so let's just talk about this project in a little more detail. So you are going to be crafting an argument. remembering that when we say argument, when we're talking about composition or rhetorical writing, we're not talking about winning or losing. We're not talking about, proving ourselves correct. That's not at all. But an argument involves, it's this process of looking for evidence and reasoning to discover a version of truth about a particular subject. So you'll begin by researching a broad topic and narrowing that topic down into a research question. And from there, you will create a small annotated bibliography that has 4 sources relevant, useful for your final paper. And your objective is to create a cohesive argument using the skills you've learned throughout the semester: summary, synthesis, analysis, and argument. So the one thing I need to warn you about early on in this process is this thing called confirmation bias. And you may have heard this in the news recently, because this has been sort of a hot topic where people, I'm not going to go into detail, I think you all know what I'm talking about. There is a certain very controversial topic, and people have very specific ideas about what they believe is right. And so they go online, not necessarily accessing credible sources, but they pick and choose, a number of sources that confirm what they already believe. And then they point to that and say, see, here's this source, I was right. And that's called confirmation bias. And it really is a very distorted way to gather information and find the truth about a topic. It's also called cherry picking because, we're just looking for the ripe, juicy articles that say, yeah, you were right. It feels good, to find those that really confirm what you believe is right. That is not what we are doing here today. What you're going to do is you're going to choose a topic. It doesn't have to be big or controversial. In fact, the smaller your paper, and this is really a pretty small paper in the big scheme of things, the smaller the paper, the smaller, more narrow your topic needs to be, because you only have a certain number of pages to really develop this topic well. So start out with a topic that really interests you and one that you would like to learn more about. It can be virtually anything. It doesn't have to be anything out of the news today. It could be, something about your own body, something about health. It could be something that you have read about or learned about in a previous course that you still have some questions about that you would like to explore. So very first thing, you're going to identify this topic. And then you're going to do some brainstorming to narrow it down into a research question. Okay. You don't know the answer to this question at this point, right? You are not looking for articles that prove your viewpoint, right? You are looking for sources that shed some light, that make some progress toward answering this question. So do not choose a topic that you already know a lot about, all right? Your personal opinions may absolutely be part of this. They're not going to be a large part of this, but especially if you have some personal experience with this. This is a great way to sort of enter into this discussion in a very credible way. Something has happened to you. You've had an experience that you want to learn more about. So you're bringing a certain amount of past experience to the table. And now you're adding to that with expert opinion or the results of studies, that sort of evidence, okay? Those are absolutely the best papers. But please start with the topic that truly interests you, because that will sustain your motivation to keep working on this. I just threw this out. For example, what determines eye color in humans? Okay? I mean, we kind of know. We kind of know it's, genetics. But beyond that, I would be very curious to know. All right, so that's the type of question that you're going to end up with at the end of this week. For that library tutorial, I have to be really honest. When I was reviewing this, your Canvas course site, before I began to put this together, the link to the WSU library tutorial was non-existent. It was not there. So I did a real quick search, and I actually found this particular one from San Diego City College. It's really identical to the one that was from WSU, which I just could not locate. And actually, truthfully, I think this is a little bit better. So for this week, please review that step 1. See along the left on that sidebar there. Step 1, developing your topic. These are really good. It's got a short video and it's then got some text that elaborates on it. It doesn't take very long to access, but it will really give you a good, solid explanation about how to start this whole process. And then in subsequent weeks, I would like you to come back to this and then access the other steps, step 2, step 3, and step 4, as you begin to develop this paper a little bit more. And last, this is what you need to do by the end of the week. This is your assignment, topic refinement. So you've determined your research topic, you've narrowed it into a research question, and then I want you to post that as a discussion post answering these 4 questions. What is your broad research topic? After watching that library tutorial, what are 3 ways that you can narrow your research topic? And then what are you narrowing it to? So you have to be specific. What now is your narrow topic? After narrowing your topic to include specificities such as answers to who, what, when, where, why, what is your research question? What is the specific question you will answer or attempt to answer in your research paper? And 4, provide a brief explanation of why you think this topic is interesting to explore in this research project. So that's due by the end of the day on Sunday. I am super excited I love reading these. I learned so much from you guys reading these papers. So this is a huge treat to sit and read these. And remember, if you have any questions about this process, I will be posting the link to Zoom office hours in the announcements. You can always ask me a question in the Ask the Instructor discussion thread, or if you would like to set up a Zoom call with me, that would be great too. All right, have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you later.